YouTube, what it do, what it do. You know the motto, man. If y'all can, go over there, hit a like, which is the thumbs up, and let me know I'm kicking my stuff, homie. 89 on up, homie. You know we serve content, G shit, not ye shit. All our shit is just, you know what I'm saying, in love and respect. No drama behind it. Just all content, creator type shit, homie. So this the pickup on the caravan through the 60s. Crenshaw, back to the turf. OG Big Dulo, connections to dating a female, connection to a couple rolling 60s, homie. So now, in my younger time, youth time, I'm hanging with a homie named Tricky at that time. You know, I got much respect for Tricky. Because Tricky was, you know what I'm saying, he in my generation, but he was already blooding before I came to Inglewood and joined in over there, in the neighborhood, Inglewood neighborhood Power Rules, homie. So Tricky, one of them homeboys, he love me. He gonna support me with the bullshit and everything, homie. So at this particular time, like I say, we see the dudes that from 60s, that OG Big Dulo, you know what I'm saying? He got a communication bond with these dudes and shit. So we see him with these dudes. So I'm young, I'm like Tricky. He like, what's up, blood? I'm like, Tricky, what if we roll through these niggas hood? How would them niggas like that since they come through here? Because I say, Tricky, I know these dudes ain't gonna just leave up out of here without detouring through somebody else's turf. Tricky like, yeah, you right. So I'm like, man, one day let's do that when we just fucking around. Tricky like, you got that. So bam, one day come, homie. So one day, me and Tricky, we had a spot on the 500 block that me and him shared and grind out of. Homie was getting some paper. So this particular one day, me and Tricky get up, we hit Inglewood Swap Meet. Anybody familiar with any Inglewood Swap Meet back in the days, homie? You can go up there, you can get a white T-shirt for $3.50. You can get a slingshot for $2.50. You can get a single pair of boxers for like $3, single pair of socks for like $1. Then you move on to your khakis for like 15, and then your chucks was like no more than 23, 24 bucks. So a motherfucker can get G'd up all up under $65. So this particular day, we fall there, we get G'd up, you know what I'm saying? Tricky get black chucks, charcoal gray khakis, and a black tee. I grab myself some burgundy chucks, P-Funk color, tan khakis, burgundy belt, burgundy tee, homie. And you know, our whole hookup. So we fall out of there, migrate back to the 500. You know, regular turf program stuff. We shower up, get G'd up. And at that time, I'm in a green Capri Classic, square black back windows on that thing, homie. So bam, Tricky don't smoke weed, homie. But I'm blowing at that time, so I blow my last chronic, homie. And I think Tricky take a drink or something, homie. So we chopping it up. So I'm like, nigga, let's just detour through LA. Tricky like, yeah, fuck it. We roll all through LA. So at this time, Tricky run around with a chunky ass 380 back in the days, homie. So bam, before we leave, like I say, he grabbed his 380, we fucking around at the spot. So he like, yeah, we gonna roll through LA. So I'm like, fuck it, we gonna get some weed too, cause the Brims had a weed spot in the alley, had Fire Chronic back in them 90s and shit, early 90s. So bam, so before we leave, we still clowning around the spot. I'm like, Tricky, you should take a marker, blood, and strike your whole face up. This before niggas was really face tagging. He like, with what? I'm like, nigga, just put bloods and all kind of disrespectful shit. Just fuck it, nigga. So he was like, fuck it. I don't know if I hit him up, somebody else hit him up, but he wound up hitting his whole face up, homie. Bloods all on his forehead. Shit crossed out on one face. Shit right here, different homies' hoods, his hood, our hood. So we riding. So we wind up getting in his car, in my car, pushing out, and this nigga face is like a mirror and shit, homie. So we ride all out through LA. So he like, fuck it, homie, hit the dubs. Let's get some chicken, homie. So I think the Golden Birds were still popping, if I ain't mistaken. So we go get us some Golden Birds out the 20s and hit the 20 port and eat our food, homie, because that's how homies used to do it. If you was in a different community area, you got something to eat, and niggas was blooding, we'd go to another blood port, set up shop, eat some, use our phone, might roll weed or do whatever out of love, homie. That's how we generated, homie. So we ate our food in the 20s and shit. Left up out of there, gave it up to a few homies, and made our way back in traffic, homie, after eating and shit. So I'm like, Tricky, fuck it, let's hit the sloss and swap meet. So remind you, Tricky still got all this shit on his face, but he thang down, we thang down. So we fall to the brims, homie. All through LA, laughing, clowning and shit, chunking it up. Other niggas giving it up back to us, cause that's how it was back in them times, homie. You know what I'm saying? So bam. So bam, we pushing through LA, dog. We wind up getting to the sloss and swap meet, pulling up in there. So we jump out, because the Slaughter Swap Me used to be on back then. That was like activity. If you go through there, you could see some niggas might bang on some niggas might bang on you. It was just, activity as a youth nigga. So we go through there, homie. And if I ain't mistaken, it used to be a Crip nigga in there. Nigga was in a wheelchair, but he used to be always banged out. I don't know what set this nigga was from, but he used to be banged out. Used to be trying to look at Bloods crazy. We'd look at that nigga crazy and shit. And that'd be it. So as we cutting through there, niggas looking at the homie crazy, but we like, shit, nigga, whatever, nigga. So, you know what I'm saying? The homie wind up buying another red belt, different buckles, because niggas used to hook the buckles up with their hood initials. So Tricky wind up getting a belt and grabbing some initials and shit, getting that bagged up. I wind up grabbing me some more tees, get them bagged up. We pushing through that motherfucker. We see a couple homies from Brim, niggas give it up. And we cut up out that motherfucker, homie. So now, as we getting in the car, I'm like, I look at Tricky, I'm like, you want a detour? He like, on Bloods, he started laughing. Anybody know Tricky got a little burnt out laugh. So Tricky started laughing like, fuck it, let's go. So I fire up the car, homie, and we tip up out that motherfucker. So now we in the Brim, so we come up out the Slaughter Swap Meet. So we come out that back part. I guess that's like we come up out of there and hit down Western. But it's another street you could make a right in, and it'll flow you right into the 60s, homie, from Western and shit. You get to catching all that through there and shit. Crossing over to from Van Ness on into they thing. So, homie, we wind up, flowing. We listening to music and shit. Who riding? So we go through there, homie. We driving. They shit mellow. The back parts is mellow that day. So we going all through there. I'm like, homie, this how them niggas probably was doing us when they left from coming to see the big homeboy. Tricky laughing like, nigga, on the real, homie, they probably was, homie. Now we doing they shit like that, homie. So bam, we rolling through. Like I said, it's dry as a motherfucker at that time. You know what I'm saying? We going through. But so now we get to the center of 60 Hood. Anybody familiar with 60 Hood? When you get to the middle, it's probably like one of them Aves or one of them streets you could turn. And eventually, as you keep going all the way down, it's gonna lead you into Florence, homie. And at that time, I think they had a corner liquor store right there where you get into Florence, where you can see the car wash and all that shit. But we haven't make it there yet, homie. We haven't made it there yet. So we come out in the ash end of they turf, so we rolling. So bam, we pass some niggas like who banging. I guess they on hood patrol, but they moving so fast, they pass us, homie. But we see them niggas rowdy. So Tricky look like, fuck it, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like, you see them niggas? I'm like, hell yeah. So they pass us, we pass them, they fast. So bam, we still coming down one of them back streets before we even get close to Florence where that liquor store at, homie. So bam, we pushing. So all this day, homie, our day been straight. My car been running cool and everything, homie. You know what I'm saying? Car been running excellent and everything, homie. So we getting closer to the block. So at this time, gang of niggas didn't have cell phone, but homies that was kind of moving around, we wind up getting cell phones on plans and shit. So weekends used to be free. They give you certain amount of daytime, certain amount of nighttime. So as we clowning through that motherfucker, I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, nigga, if anything happened, them niggas been coming through here, nigga, we'll hit Big Dulo, nigga. And you know, try to mediate something, nigga, or something. We laughing and joking, nigga. We just called Big Dulo. Them niggas came through our turf. So man, we slipping and riding, homie, slipping and riding still. We just riding slow, homie. All of a sudden, homie, we start getting to damn near Florence. We get to Florence where that liquor store at, homie. And I guess traffic is heavily like rolling down Florence, homie. So we like right there getting, we not at the stop sign to turn. We like right there in the middle. Like getting like, you know, damn near close to the block. But I think they had like a little apartment or some shit by that liquor store or some shit where them niggas used to hang at from 60s, homie. All of a sudden we get right there, homie. We just ride. My motherfucking car cut the fuck off, homie. Right there where them niggas is at. By the liquor store, them niggas is deep, but they ain't really paying no attention right away when the car break down. So remind you, homie, the homie got all this shit on his face. I'm burgundy Chuck, burgundy T. The homie banged out. So, and the car cut off. Remind you, the homie got a chunky one. So the homie tricky like, blood, what the fuck is wrong with the car, homie? The car been running all day fine, homie. So he kind of like, you know, he don't cut his eyes at them dudes, but he get everything ready. He like, man, homie, if these dudes come up on the car, it's gonna go all bad. He like, fuck with the car, don't even cut your head, G. So I got my head straight fucking with the car, homie. You know what I'm saying? So some of them dudes, I remember a dark skinned nigga banged out, couple more niggas, they kind of looking, cause we break down in them niggas turf, homie. So niggas is kind of looking, homie. So I see one nigga kind of like act like he grabbed a thing or something. So I tell Tricky, I like, Tricky, get ready, homie. You know what I'm saying? Cause these niggas might approach us, homie. You might gotta do what you gotta do, Tricky. Like, I'm already on it. Just stay fucking with the car. 89 on up. G shit, not ye shit. Do we get a pass or do we gotta get cracking?